Have you ever tried to answer a writing task 2 question like this and you just couldn't think of any ideas? Well, don't worry because you're not the only one. In this video, I'm going to show you how to brainstorm ideas quickly and effectively so you'll always have something to write about. But before we get started, if you want a full step-by-step system for getting band 7 or higher in the IELTS test, make sure you check out our full preparation course. It's going to teach you how to handle every part and every question type, all from the comfort of your own home. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we need to talk about is what brainstorming actually is. So brainstorming means quickly thinking of ideas by yourself before you start writing. It helps you decide what to say and how to organize your essay. So that's what brainstorming is, but how do you actually start thinking of ideas? Well, I'm going to show you 3 methods in this lesson. So let's start with the first method, which is WH questions. So what do I mean by WH questions? Well, I mean ask questions about the topic. This is the first step to get your brain going or thinking. Just start asking simple questions about what the topic is really about. So you can use who, what, when, where, why, and how. These are the main WH questions. Now, you don't have to use all of them. Just pick the ones that help you think of something useful. So use the WH questions that work best because some of them might not help at all. Sometimes just 1 or 2 WH questions will be enough to get you a great idea or to get you started with some ideas. So now let me show you an example question and how you could use this method to help you. So here is the question. It says, some people think the government should pay university fees for all students. To what extent do you agree or disagree? So this is clearly an opinion question. You have to give your opinion. So you could either agree, you could disagree, or you could go somewhere in the middle. Now that's the first thing you should do. You should decide your opinion, because after you decide your opinion, you will know how you're going to structure this or the essay. So now let's ask some of those questions for this topic and we'll see if we can think of some ideas. So the first question is who? So when you think about this question, who comes into your mind? Well, who is affected? Is it students, parents, governments, taxpayers? What about what? Well, maybe you could ask what would happen? What are the benefits? What are the negatives? When it comes to when, you could say, when could this be helpful? So if you look at this question, when, this question is probably not very useful for this topic, so you could even just skip it entirely. Where would this help? Developed countries, developing countries? What about why? So why would people support this idea, or why would some people not support the idea? And finally, how? So the question is about the government paying university fees. Well, the next logical question is how? How could the government pay? How could the government get this extra money? Also, how could the government minimize negative effects? Because most things have positives and negatives. So you could also ask, how could the government reduce those negative effects? Now you've seen how to use the method. Now it's your turn to practice. So I'm going to show you a question and I'm going to put a timer on for 1 minute. Try to think about as many different ideas as you can and think about what you would talk about in your essay. So here is the question. You've got 1 minute starting now. So that was the first method. Let's move on to the second method now, which is what if. So for this method, you can simply ask what if something happens and what if it doesn't happen. So asking these questions can help you think about the possible effects or the consequences of a situation. And you can really ask this question about any idea that comes into your head. Now, it's great for cause, effect, and solution questions because asking what if questions can really help you come up with reasons, problems, and solutions. And the thing is, you only need one good idea to start. Even just one what if question could give you one idea for a full paragraph in your essay. So now let's have a look at another example question we could use for this method. So here it is. More and more people are choosing to work from home. Do you think this is a positive or negative development? And again, before you start thinking of ideas, you need to think about what your opinion is and how you're going to structure the answer. Are you going to only talk about your side? Are you going to talk about both sides? How are you going to structure it? So let's ask the first question. What if more people do work from home? What if they do work from home? Well, the first thing that might happen is parents can manage family life more easily. A lot of parents have to work, and if they are able to work from home, this will allow them to manage their family life much more easily. Another thing is that companies might save money on office space. If all of the employees are working from home, well, there's no real reason to rent an office, is there? And finally, this is a negative thing. It might lead to more loneliness. If a lot of people are just staying at home and working at home all the time and they don't have much social contact or interaction, well, this might lead to loneliness. So you can see here that we've thought of two benefits and we've also got one negative as well. Now let's move on to the other side. What if people don't work from home? So we're looking at the opposite side now. Well, the first thing that might happen is teamwork and creativity may improve. If people are working in the office and working together and collaborating together, this could lead to better outcomes when it comes to creativity and teamwork. Now, commuters, this is a negative thing. People who are traveling, they might have to spend more money and time. So this is a negative. And finally, cities will stay or might stay crowded during business hours. So if everyone travels to work at 9 o'clock and then comes back home at 5 o'clock, well, there's going to be lots of people on the road. So of course, this is going to make cities very crowded during those peak times. So again, for this, what if people don't work from home? We've got a positive thing at the top. Teamwork and creativity may improve. And then we've got two negative things or two negative points as well. So now you've seen how to use this method, it's your turn to practice again. So I'm going to show you a question and you've got 1 minute to think of ideas. Good luck. So here is the question. Your 1 minute starts now. All right, so that was the second method. Let's move on to the third method now, which is start with an example. So, what do I mean by that? Well, I mean start with a real or imagined example and then build from there. This is going to give you something specific to work with instead of just, trying to create ideas from nothing. This is going to really help you when you can't think about any reasons straight away. If you're unable to think of ideas, just think about a situation you've seen or heard. You could even think about an example that has happened to you. And, that situation, it's going to help you to create your argument or your ideas. And it's probably going to make your argument much stronger because examples really help the reader to understand your point more clearly, and they can also make your essay feel a bit more natural. So let's have a look at a question where we could use this method. Here it is. Some people believe that children should learn how to cook at school. Do you agree or disagree? So again, this is an opinion question, and you need to decide your opinion. So the first step is think of an example. And again, it could be an example that has happened to you from your past. Alternatively, it could be something that you have just seen or something that you have heard. So here's an example. When I was in school, we never learned how to cook. So most of us relied on instant noodles or takeaways when we moved out or grew up. So this is the example. Now, the next step is to build ideas from that example. So if this thing is true, what ideas come from this example? Well, the first one that comes to my mind is that teaching cooking could reduce childhood obesity by promoting healthier habits, because a lot of people just get takeaways all the time. And I'm sure you're well aware that takeaways are not the healthiest food. They are often very high calorie foods, and they contain, high levels of sugar, salt, and they don't really contain the nutrients that you need. Another thing is it might take time away from academic subjects like maths or science. So this is a negative thing. If students learn to cook, if they're spending their time cooking at school, well, it could take time away from other subjects. And finally, some students just might not be interested and might see it as a waste of time. So even though, they might be in the class, they probably won't learn anything because they're not interested and they don't really care. They don't want to learn. So we've got 3 ideas here, and the first one is a positive thing, and the last 2 are negative things. So we've got a bit of a balance. Now it's time for you to practice again. So have a look at this question and see if you can come up with a lot of ideas. Here is the question. You've got 1 minute starting now. Now I'm going to show you a few common mistakes that students make when trying to think of ideas. The first one is taking too long. Remember, you've got 40 minutes to read the question, think of your ideas, and write your answer. So you've got to be quick. When you're thinking of ideas, it shouldn't take more than 1 minute. It should be very, very quick. The next thing is trying to write the whole essay in your head. This is not necessary during the planning phase. You just need to think of ideas. You don't need to think about the whole essay. You can think about that when you're actually writing. The next one is I'm just focusing on complex ideas instead of very clear, simple ideas. If you've got a complex idea, it might not be easy for you to explain and talk about. So just stick to simple ones where possible. It's going to make it much easier for you to write and explain your ideas. And the final common mistake I often see from students is just thinking that you need to think of something creative or original or something that no one has ever thought of before. Well, no, that's not necessary. Simple ideas are fine. What's important is you have some ideas and you explain them in a very clear way and you use some good grammar and some good vocabulary. So that was how to come up with ideas for writing task 2. If you want to learn how to write the perfect essay for writing task 2, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. Take care and good luck with your studies.